Every year, about this time of year, I get questions about soccer tryouts, and the world of soccer is a bit complex, so I'm going to try to lay it out for you. And it's different. If you played soccer in your youth, it's different. It's totally different than what it was like for me. So here's how it works. And tryouts for the older age groups are on Tuesday, after Memorial Day. For the younger age groups, they're happening right now, Monday and Tuesday, and usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And here's the bummer of the deal. Every team is going to have tryouts on the same days. So you can't we'll try it for this one, and then we'll try it for this one, and we'll try it for this one, because the teams cannot hold tryouts before a specific date. The state doesn't allow that. And they're not going to wait for a week or two for all the best players to go somewhere else. So they're going to hold tryouts. I totally understand why coaches and clubs do it. There's no other way to get the best team possible other than to hold your tryouts on the first days possible. So that's annoying, but it happens. Then the next step is you need to figure out what level of team. So there's the combination of a team that practices close to you and a team that is at the level of play of your kid. You don't want to be on a team where your kid never gets in the game. You learn a lot more about soccer in the game oftentimes than you do even at practice, because in the game, it's game speed, game intensity, and you have to make decisions at the right speed. It's just totally different. So if your kid's never seeing the field, then you probably need to be on a team that's at a lower level and they will actually progress better, most likely, on a lower level team where they play, you want them to play at least half the game. So anyway, first of all, unless your kid is crazy driven internally, and they're going to fight like crazy, they're going to practice at home, you're not going to have to remind them to practice at home. They're just going to do it, and they're going to put touches on the ball, they're going to watch YouTube videos, all of those things. Then maybe it'd be okay, and they're pretty athletic for their kids, for their age group. Maybe at that point it's okay for you to have them play on a team where they don't get much playing time, because they'll probably earn it over a year or two. But then they need to be prepared for, I'm going to have to bust my tail to earn time. It might be 6 months to a year before I'm really seeing more than half the game. Okay, so then once you get to that point where you kind of know your kid, you know what they're after, you need to find a team that, if you're willing to travel, great for practice, but I'm not willing to drive more than 20 minutes, 25 minutes if possible for practice. So you need to find one that's geographically close to you, and then you need to find one at the same time that is at the right level of play. Okay, so talking about level of play and geography. If you are in Utah, I'm only talking about Utah, because that's the only state I really know how this works. So there are 3 different regions. There is North, which is basically North Salt Lake up to Logan and Tremonton and everywhere up north. And then there's Metro, which is the Salt Lake Valley. And then there is South, which is the point of the mountain by Thanksgiving Point down south. Those, when the kids are really, really young, they play in those regions. And then as they get older, the state starts to add a league on top of that. So you have a Division 1 or Division 2, Division 3. They add leagues above that you'd actually travel for your games across those 3 regions. So if you have a team that is in Logan and they're in Division 2 or 3 or 1, they're going to play teams down maybe in Mapleton, which is a long drive, but they're all over the regions if they're on Division 1, 2, and 3. And then again, as each year, as these kids get older, they add other leagues. So above Division 3 and then 2 and then 1, they usually add in Premier Leagues, and there's a Premier 1 and a Premier 2. So when it's all sorted out, by the time these kids get to high school, there's usually P1, Premier 2, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and then at that point, the players will play in their regions, and then they do it by letters. So there's North A, B, C, D, E, and then Metro A, B, C, D, and then South A, B, C, D. So depending on the age group, they might only have like a North A, and especially in girls, there are fewer teams, and so they will have maybe a North A. I was looking at the 2009 age group for girls to help a friend out, and I think it went down to North A is only. But in 2010 boys, I think they get down to North E or North D. So each league has about 8 or 9 teams, and they like it to be at about 9 teams so that they get 8 games. They play everybody once, and if your team wins the league or takes second place, it's not always second place promotes, but first and second promote, and last and second to last demote. So you have to earn your spot in the league as a team. And then each year they have something called roster continuity, where you have to have a certain number of players come back in order to maintain your spot. So you can't like earn it with one team and then field it with another team the next year. So it's actually really organized, and I really like that aspect of it, that it's all very well set out. One thing that's difficult is if you have a kid who doesn't, who's maybe not on the right team, and he or she is hoping to help the team progress and promote up, it can take years to work up from North C up into P2, P1 or D2, D1. And on top of that, you're not going to pull in the players that are excited. Like we've had that trouble with one of our teams where they're in North C or North D, and then they just don't attract the best players because the best players want to play in the higher leagues. So when tryouts come around, they play on other teams. So overall, that's the gist of how it works. Now, I'll go into clubs. All right, so in Utah, you have bigger clubs. La Roca's a big club. Avalanche is a big club. Surf is a pretty big club. You got Celtic down in Salt Lake, and gosh, I'm trying to think. There's so many clubs, but Shooters is further south. Anyway, all these different clubs oftentimes will have multiple teams at each age group. So it can be nice if you know a club that's close, and you can try out for that club, and then they will help slot the kid on the right team. They want the best players on their A team, and then the next on the B, and the next on their C. And those letters don't correspond with the region stuff. I'm just saying their first, second, and third team. So they want to sort the players the right way, so they're going to try to do that. And that's one way of going about it. Now, when it comes to cost, some of the bigger clubs are going to cost more. There's an entity that was called League 30, and they've now changed it to Summit. And they do a great job of creating an environment where coaches can run a club independently, basically. They don't have to be part of a huge club. Even though L30 technically is one of the biggest clubs, I think it might be the biggest club in the state in terms of players. The way they do it is they take very minimal fees. They help with the back-end administration side, help you have like the rules in the club and everything established that's required, and then they let the coaches run things for the most part. So those clubs are a bunch of different names because they can go by different names. Like Meta is a sub-club of L30. Vipers is a sub-club. SWAT is a sub-club. And then you've got true like Summit teams, which is the in-house brand of L30. So Summit is like the house club for L30 Summit entity. Anyway, all of those teams are going to be less expensive than your bigger clubs. Okay. Now, if you're trying to figure out, well, how would I know if there's a team nearby me? First, you need to learn what clubs are by you. Then see if you can find somebody who has a kid already playing academy soccer. Have them log into the system called Affinity. Have them go to their current team's schedule, and up at the top there's a little button that says schedules and field times. You click on that, and then it will take you to a page where you can click on any team at any division in any age group. And you can click through those, and you can see the names of the clubs and the teams that exist in your kid's age group. And you can start to find out like, oh, there's a Wasatch team playing D2 in this age group, or oh, there's a Meta team playing in D1 at this age group. And basically if you've never been in club soccer before and you're on the girls side and your kid's pretty athletic, then I would have them come in see if they can come in at the D something level. If they're a boy, and they're basically either way, if you can get a kid in at D2, D3 right away, great. If not, then have them play a little bit lower, but you just don't want to have them start too low and then work their way up for too long. Okay, lastly, coaches cannot talk to players too early before tryouts, but that window has passed. It was back on like the 9th or the 10th of this month. So coaches and players can communicate about potentially, trying out and teams without it being a violation of early recruiting. So you can actually send your kid to practice with their teams. So right now it would be great especially if they're having practice this week, because tryouts are next week. That way it's kind of an opportunity to at least send your kid and see like, oh, my kid's not even close to this level. We got to find teams that are lower. Or you send them and you're like, oh my gosh, my kid just dominated this practice. I've got to go find a team that's a league up or two. Anyway, hopefully that helps. It's a lot, I know, but hopefully bringing all that together helps you.